Hello, everyone. In this video, I'm going to briefly overview some things to think about as you're moving through the major and preparing for the next steps. Particularly, I'm going to focus a little bit on graduate school applications, but you're going to find that a lot of the skill set that you do for grad school also work for career paths as well. So we'll talk about them kind of interchangeably. So as a psych major, what should you be doing? And that's the first step we're going to talk about. The first thing is just in general, exploring courses. And this is not just in psych, but also across the university. And while you're in those courses, engage in the material, actually ask questions, because sometimes, getting that extra insight isn't just listening, but actually participating in a conversation. So I encourage you, whenever possible, ask a question. There are no such things as dumb questions unless they're not asked. And part of that role of asking questions, it's also not just talking in classes, but talking to your students outside of courses, finding out what has or hasn't worked for them. At Miami, we actually have a peer mentoring center called CPI, Center for Psychological Inquiry. And it's a great place to sort of see and talk to people that are a little further ahead of you in the program, and they can tell you some of the things that they've learned as they've moved through. It's third on the list, but probably extremely important, is talking to faculty. What do they look for in students? What might they wish they have known when they were going through the program? They can give you that insight now looking at the other side in terms of what things really to focus on. Joining student groups. There's the list here is just a number of things that are available at Miami in the psych department, but it's really about finding your place in a typically large major. Psychology is an extremely popular major across the country, and our major is no different. We are approaching 1,100 majors, but there's still ways to find a home within that and find a place where you kind of can claim a spot. And doing that is just a small part of actually getting involved, and that can be in student activities, that could be doing research. Particularly if you're interested in graduate programs, I really would recommend getting involved in research. But also, if you're thinking about employment, I'd still recommend getting involved in research. That could also include things like doing internships or attending conferences when possible. And what all these things have in common is they show commitment to the field and the ability to apply your coursework outside of a course context. In addition, it builds networks and it gives you a perspective as well. And then finally, what that perspective does is it helps you build your narrative. And this is really important both for employment and for graduate careers. You want to be able to talk to people about what drives you, what skills you bring to the table, and what you're passionate about. Because graduate school, in particular, I'll speak on that for a second, graduate school in particular is a skill building place. It's where you're going to learn a particular skill that you can use to help people later on if you wish, or help you develop things, but it's really about self-improvement. So these are the things I'm bringing. Here's what I hope to get from your program as you go through. So these are the kind of things to be thinking about as you're going through. Just to make it a little personal, this is how research helped me. I kind of floated through a psych major. I was always psych, but I didn't quite know what I wanted to do. And getting involved in research really helped me discover what aspects of the field I liked and what I was interested in, and what I do to this day. I'm really happy with some 20 odd years later. The one-on-one interaction is so key. My undergrad program is really small, so we were able to do that fairly easily. But even in a larger program, there's ways to connect directly with faculty and graduate students, and those are a fantastic resource, so do not sleep on that. It gave me a behind-the-scenes view in terms of knowing what the research process is, not just seeing it in a paper or in a textbook. And same things I mentioned in the slide, it gives you a way to put your coursework to actual work, and it gives you a peek into what graduate life might be. So in turn, these are the things I try to pass on to students I have in my lab, same kind of things. And the only difference with this slide that I want to highlight is that it's going to give you marketable skills for both graduate life and non-graduate life. The ability to work in teams, the ability to problem solve, the ability to write and analyze. Those are skills you can use in many domains. So it's just useful on a number of fronts. What we do in our lab particularly, I have more of what I would think of as a apprenticeship model. Our undergraduate research assistants are encouraged to be in part of the research at whatever level they feel comfortable with. This is one place where you can come and touch and play with stuff and see how it works. Typically, once you've had about a year in the program, you can start thinking about your own project. It's usually dovetailed to something we're doing, but we do like people to kind of think about things because we're not trying to recreate ourselves. We're trying to give you tools where you can create knowledge on your own. So that's why our tagline is colleagues, not clones, in the lab. And I make it a point in our lab to make sure there's lots of opportunities for presentation and write-up and just having some tangible outcomes of the research. And most of our students do go on to graduate programs in a number of areas, not just psychology. So some general things to keep in mind as you're moving through the major is one is to be active, be an advocate for yourself. Offers to do research and internship just don't fall in your lap. You kind of have to seek them out as you go through. Find a workaround. There may sometimes be something that has to be done before you can engage in research. In our department, it's not necessarily the case. You can engage pretty much just by showing interest. But some labs do have requirements that they want you to have. So find out what those are. Talk to your instructor to find out what things are hard and fast, what things can be worked around. Be informed. Really read something about the research that you're interested in before going to the faculty member. You don't have to be an expert in it, but you do want to be aware of what they do. And that will help you figure out the general area. You do not have to have an exact match. You're not deciding your fate right now. You're just really trying to pick up some skills for that. So it doesn't have to exactly be what you want to do forever, but just a way to sort of get your feeler in and see if this is really what you want to do. And then finally, in terms of who you choose to work with, you don't always have to go for the senior person. Luckily in our department, just about our entire faculty is research active, from our brand new to our 20, 30-year veterans, if you will. And so you have a choice. And the best choice isn't always the most senior person. It's the person whose interest you're interested in and what kind of things are exciting to you. So those are the things to look for as we go through. When you are looking for research, do not spam. That is, don't send a mass email to everyone, just in general. Be specific, do a little bit of your legwork. And even if you are applying to multiple labs, send individual emails. And then finally, once you're in a lab, keep your commitments. It's a two-way street. So we're going to be there for you, but you also have to be there for us. And this is what's going to build that relationship, that mentoring, that collaboration, that networking, is being able to do that. And then finally, just aside from doing research, what are things you should be doing in general as you're moving towards either employment or graduate programs? One is take courses besides psychology, believe it or not. And yes, if you're at Miami, we're going to force you to do that with the Miami plan. But even within that, you can choose the type of courses that you want to take. And basically, it gives you some alternate connection points that you might help you build a connection with a graduate program or an employer. Build yourself a library in terms of just have things that you read all the time. Could be articles, could be books, if you're blogging or listening to podcasts, all those things just help give you perspective. And they can be both academic and popular. Both things have their places. Write a little every day. Writing is a skill that you have to hone and nurture. Nobody does it naturally. No matter what people say, it is something you have to work on. And I'm talking from experience because I'm like that too. For those particularly that are interested in grad programs, learn to love statistics and have a good understanding of what they can do for you. But in the employment sector, these are great skills to have as well. And then finally, talk. And I can't emphasize this enough. Talk to people at different levels, get different perspectives. It helps you kind of see around corners, help you see what other people's perspectives are, and it's going to make you that much more effective in your next steps. And then finally, in line with that, just participating on campus, again, building community and feeling like you're part of something can go a long way to helping you navigate everything. And then when you can, joining national groups just gives you kind of an extended group to work with, and also might provide some opportunities that you might not see otherwise. So these were just some general things I hope are helpful in terms of thinking about things to do. You don't have to do every last thing, but these are some good things that we found that successful students tend to engage in. So hopefully you found that useful. Take care, everyone, and I will talk to you again.